9th January. SS Burya, first class cabin number 2. Who are you? A Western gentleman. This man looks Russian to me. We heard a woman scream. A woman? Don't be absurd. As you can see, there's nobody but me in this cabin. True, this old man does appear to be the only person in here. But in that case, who just screamed? Get out, all of you, now! Please excuse the intrusion, but you're Mr. Grimsby Rylot, I believe. Yes, that's me, and you are? I am the one and only, the actual Sherlock Sholmes. You've heard of me, no doubt? No. I am a great detective among the great detectives, one who adorns the covers of the popular magazines, no less. So I assure you, you may trust me completely. The man uses that magazine like a business card. A detective. I do not trust detectives. We distinctly heard a scream emitting from within these walls. But there wouldn't appear to be a lady concealing herself within the wardrobe this time. So might I be so bold as to ask you to open that small traveling case? What? Don't be stupid. How could anyone fit in a small trunk like that? Well, it's quite fashionable these days, is it not? Traveling inside one's trunk? Don't look at me. Oh my, did you see that? Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the case just shook. Leave, now. Otherwise, I call the steward. So this is Kazuma's neighbor, Mr. Grimsby Rylot. There's no doubt about it. This strange Russian man is hiding something. I couldn't agree more. Let's see if we can find some clues before that burly sailor returns. What do you think you're doing? Ah! This is my cabin. Get out! Could we just have a quick look inside your traveling case, perhaps? No! Ah. What a pity. I think we're out of luck. I think you're right. There doesn't appear to be anything more we can do. I agree. But there may be someone else who can help. Perhaps that great detective could get somewhere with Mr. Rylot. Do you have a moment, please, Mr. Sholmes? You need only address me as Sholmes. That's what I just did, isn't it? Well, Mr. Sholmes, what were you doing in here? Why, I was resetting, of course. Resting! Not resetting, resting! Learn to read! Sorry, it's been a 2-hour recording. I'm just, I'm starting to get tired. Resting? Indeed. I was contemplating our sea voyage from the confines of the wardrobe whilst waiting. Waiting for the inevitable time when you would need to call my great powers of detection into service. Oh! And it would seem that the hour is upon us now. The time has come. Am I mistaken? Well, no, actually, you were spot on, for once. Observe closely. Our Russian host in this cabin, Mr. Rylot, is clearly trying to hide something. And do you know what is the most effective weapon to use against a Russian hiding a secret? Why? The truth, of course. Though it should be pointed out that such methods are not exclusively for the Russians. Right. Can you imagine how the Russians will react when the secret he guards so closely is exposed? Would you like to witness it? Oh yes, please! Well then, what are you about to see may well astound you. for I am about to apply my great detective's greatly admired great deduction to the case. Could this man be a more hackneyed portrayal of a dubious Russian, I ask you? What? From time to time it occurs to me, is the fellow dubious on account of his Russianness, or Russian on account of his dubiousness? I really don't think either of those things should be occurring to you, or anyone. That's right. And Mr. Sholmes, I know this man's beard and dark glasses are hard to ignore, especially on first meeting, but once I read... It is a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the evidence. It biases the judgment. Shh! I must have complete silence. What are you doing? Why are you peering at my face like that? Ah, just as I thought. Yes, I have quite made up my mind now. There can be no other explanation that accommodates all the facts. Mr. Roylott, I have reached two incontrivable conclusions. What do you mean? Number one, your true identity is that of a villain. Using those shears, you are about to end the existence of something most dear. Are you not? Huh! And number two, the other conclusion I have drawn, you are, at this very moment no less, in the midst of committing a most grievous crime. Beneath that beard, your mouth quivers with nervousness, tensions as you realize you have been discovered. Does it not? Ah! Oh, Naruhodo-san, I never imagined I would witness one of Mr. Sholmes' great deductions with my own eyes. That was a great deduction? Nothing can deceive Mr. Sholmes. In a single glance, he can deduce all there is to know about a person. What ineffable twaddle! Oh yes, I've read about it countless times in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. And now I've experienced the astonishing impact of his great deductions firsthand. This is like a dream come true. I can hardly believe it, but all the color has drained from Mr. Roylott's face. It looks like somehow both Mr. Sholmes' conclusions were right. How could you? How could I possibly know such things, you wish to say? Very well then. I shall elucidate. I shall explain how it was that I arrived at this pair of conclusions. So, do I cordially invite you upon a journey of logical discovery. Let us board a train of reasoning. Toot toot! But plainly, let us work together through the deductions together. The great deduction. The game's afoot. And upon this charge, cry God for Harry, England, and St. George! The old man's identity. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring us in the face. You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard you sport. Now, moving on. The question then begged is this. Why would you desire to rid yourself of this magnificent beard, Mr. Roylott? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. Regard, if you will, this morning's newspaper, in particular this fascinating front-page article, which it would appear you have read also, Mr. Roylott. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. In translation, the headline reads, Revolutionary violent Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. As you could not fail to observe, the subject of the article possesses an extremely copious beard and looks nothing like Mr. Roylott. Having noted the article yourself, you decided to remove your incriminating facial hair before it gave you away. In short, your true identity is beyond doubt. You are the fearsome Russian revolutionary himself, Villain Bolshevik. Not that I've heard of you myself, you understand? A revolutionary on the run. Wrongdoing. Now, as for my second conclusion, you are at this very moment on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime, over there. Oh yes, Mr. Roylott. Taken unaware, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. Ah! And I assure you, the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answers we seek lies where the fugitive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. Yes, that traveling case. It is time, I think, that the case opened and its contents laid bare. No, I refuse. What could you possibly be concealing inside, we ask? By my estimation, a young lady, perhaps. One slight enough to fit therein. Don't be absurd. And what, pray, would be the identity of this young lady in the traveling case? Dear me. We are not well suited for the life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we'll need to follow your furtive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason you refuse to open your traveling case can be equally found in the pages of this newspaper. But there is another, more stimulating article. If we turn from the fleeing revolutionary to the back page. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novavich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. Such a headline can lead us but to one conclusion. Your crime is that of abduction. And according to the article, the young lady's name is Nikolina Pavlova. Kidnapping of a young ballerina. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes's great deduction of this Russian enigma, Elemensky. Susato-san? That wasn't one of the great deductions I've been hearing so much about, was it? Well, the stories are full of Mr. Shlom's brilliant deductions, you know. But that did seem a little different somehow. Excuse me, Mr. Shlomes, could you come over here for a moment? Hey, what can I do for you? It's about your deductions, would you mind? Not at all, go on. Well, to start with, there's the newspaper article. I think we had the same discussion before, but... These two men look nothing like each other! Ah yes, I recall our discussion earlier, and at the time I believed I told you that the man is a revolutionary, well, able to revolutionize his own appearance. In fairness to Mr. Shlomes, Mr. Royal does look more like this man than you do. That's not the point! And another thing, the part about him abducting the ballerina. Indeed, a truly startling revelation. At first glance, the case would appear too small to accommodate a young woman. Not just at first glance, it's too small, clearly! You'd be lucky to fit a 5-year-old child in that case, even if you pushed really hard. I don't suppose the missing ballerina is a 5-year-old child, is she? You mean you don't know? No, the young lady is 15. No, I didn't know. How could I? Well, if she's 15, then 10 years worth of her would be poking out from the case. Some years ago, I read something impertinent, I believe. A troop of men consuming vinegar daily in order to promote a certain littleness in their bodies. Vinegar? For such a sour bunch, it would surely be simplicity itself can contort oneself into the confines of that small case. Oh dear. You might be thinking of contortionists in the circus, Mr. Holmes. This whole thing is turning into a circus. Mr. Naruhodo, something has occurred to me about Mr. Shlom's deductions just now. I think his powers of observation are, well, magical. His eyes cut to the heart of the matter almost instantly. It's just where he directs his attention and his logic that seem a little off. Your idea of a little may be a little off itself, Mr. Sato. It's just 1 or 2 key words in his deductions that seem to let him down. So I was wondering if we might perhaps tactfully switch them for alternatives. What do you think? Switch some key words in his deductions. Yes, but very tactfully. I feel sure if we could do that, we'd unlock the true genius of Mr. Shlom's great deduction. Precisely the thought that was going through my own mind. This man is a lot of work. At times I wonder how anyone puts up with me. Ha 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 ha. It's not that funny. And you, my good fellow. Sorry? Take a moment to look at your wrists. My wrists? Where are your handcuffs? Huh? How did you... I felt that it may hinder your ability to follow me in our Dance of Deduction. I don't believe it. Mr. Shlomes, you are a marvel. And don't worry, I shall restore the shackles to your wrists when we are finished. I'm not worried, in fact, I'd rather stay like this. So, let us begin. Sherlock Holmes proudly presents his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Shlomes. Old man's identity, a revolutionary on the run. So, the dubious-looking Russian, Mr. Roylott, obviously what catches the eye in the first place. Is the enormous pair of shears in your hand. Now we ask ourselves, what could you possibly want with such an implement? The answer, of course, is staring at us in the face. You're on the verge of using the shears to cut away the copious beard, are you, sport? I'm not sure. Would you really use shears like that to cut off a beard? I doubt that's something I'll ever have to worry about. It doesn't quite sit right with me, though. It doesn't seem to be sitting right with Mr. Roylott either. Which means, I suppose, that deduction is wrong. Let's try to switch a key word here, Naruhodo-san, and see if it helps matters. Alright, but how? I think we should start by taking a long, hard look at Mr. Roylott. I wonder if it's really his beard that he intended to use those shears on. Exactly. If we do manage to find something that seems to fit the sense of Mr. Shlom's deductions better, then what? Then I'll leave the rest to your capable hands, Naruhodo-san. We might want to do something about this. Well, anyway, let's see if there's anything we could even use to switch around in the last sentence. What exactly was Mr. Roylott really going to use those enormous shears for? His beard. A cat. Coat buttons. Thick hat. No, I don't think it would be the hat. I'm looking at the buttons on his coat. Could it be that Mr. Roylott was planning to cut these off? Oh, why? Well, when you're wearing thick gloves, it can be very hard to undo buttons. Then couldn't you just take off your gloves first? Aha! So he is going to use the scissors to cut his gloves off then. I want you to take a deep breath and look at this from a fresh perspective, Naruhodo-san. Oops, I think she's angry. Oh, hold on. Oh, we can do this! Oh, hello! What's this? It looks like a cascade of stunning golden locks. No, the color is not the point. The point is, what's it doing on the back of Mr. Roylott's head? And how is it growing out from underneath his thick black hair? Well, yes, that's true. So it's stunningly beautiful and stunningly surprising. Something's definitely not right here.
Yes!
You were on the verge of using the shears to cut away the golden locks you sport. Indeed, you have identified the precise detail I was intending to expose. Such lush golden hair certainly does not benefit an old man. Befit an old man, even. You're not a man at all, you're a woman, and judging from the length and sheen of your hair, one still very much in her youth. Oh no! If only I had managed to cut off my hair, no one would have suspected. The question then begged is, why would you desire to rid yourself of those magnificent locks? Once again, the answer is plain. We have clear evidence to shed light on the matter. I'm sure it needs no further clarification. The evidence that reveals your true identity is the article about the revolutionary. Well, that was a shock. I had no idea the old man was really a young woman in disguise, did you? What? Why are you staring at me like that? Yes, it was a surprise, Naruhodo-san. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Sorry? You look like you're in your element as you dance around the room deducing the facts with Mr. Shlomes. I'm just doing what we agreed. I'm not having fun or anything. This is strictly business, not strict... Yes, I understand. Say no more. Well, anyway, let's focus on the next part of Mr. Shlomes' deduction, shall we? The evidence that he picked out doesn't fit the facts at all now. No, that's true, given Mr. Roylott is actually a woman. Exactly. He, or rather she, can't possibly be this merciless revolutionary. I suppose it's because the deduction as a whole has taken a different direction now. Yes. Let's switch the evidence for something else, something that fits the facts as we now understand them. For some reason, this woman needs to try to hide her true identity. I feel as though I've either read or heard about a young woman in a situation like that recently. Alright, I'll do my best.
Yes!
The evidence that reveals your true identity is, of course, the article about the ballerina. That's right, you've hit the nail on the head. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovich Ballet disappears from Shanghai. It would appear we are finally able to address you by your true name. Yes, because your true identity is that of the Novovich Ballet's prima ballerina. Miss Nikolina Pavlova. Arg! You're right. My real name is Nina. I mean Nikolina Pavlova. But please, I beg you, don't tell anyone. Ballerina on the run. Solved. Now, as for my second conclusion, you are, at this very moment, on the brink of committing a most grievous crime. And the proof of this crime, over there... Oh yes, Miss Pavlova. Taken unawares, people have a propensity to let their eyes stray, you see. And I assure you the eyes speak so much more eloquently and honestly than the mouth. The answer we seek lies where the fruitive glance falls. The proof of your crime sits before our very eyes. Yes, that traveling case. This woman is the ballerina and she's right in front of our eyes. So clearly she can't be inside that traveling case as well. No, that's right, it seems she wasn't abducted at all. In which case, what is the crime the young woman is apparently committing? I can see I'm going to have to step in and fix the great detective's mistakes again. You seem to look pleased now, Hodo-san. You like the idea of another chance to dance around with Mr. Shlom's? Stop it! Anyway, there must be something else that shows what this woman is up to. I think we found it.
Yes!
The proof of your crime is surely this tiara. Ah! I believe this tiara is worn on stage by dancers in the Norwich Ballet, is it not? Indeed. It would appear to be identical to the tiara pictured here in this newspaper article. And if the reporting is to be believed, it's an item worth 20,000 rubles. In summary, the crime you have committed is theft. Oh no! Yes, you left your ballet troupe unlawfully, taking their precious tiara with you. Ah! I have no one, no family, no friends. I'm all alone, and I need money. But I did not steal that tiara. It was a present from, how do you say, an earl of Prussia. It belongs to me. This girl is only 15 years old, and she's a runaway all by herself. She must have been extremely lonely. Alright, I will tell you everything. There is no point in hiding it now. Come, let us not be hasty. What? There remains one unsolved mystery about you. Mystery? What do you mean? You have staunchly refused to open this traveling case of yours in your presence. It is reasonable to conclude, therefore, that there is some reason why you wish it to remain closed. Is that not so, Miss Pavlova? My dear girl, there is no sense in playing games with me. Nothing escapes my attention. Indeed, I have a very good idea of the contents of your case even before I had ever laid eyes on them. Dear me. We are not well suited to a life of crime, are we? Your careless coup d'oeil betrays you. Once again, we need only to follow your fruitive glance to find the answer. Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the books on the shelf. He's completely changed tack with his own deduction now. I think Mr. Holmes is adapting his logic to the changing circumstance, don't you? Maybe, but why has he suddenly brought the bookshelf into all of this? It's just a wild guess, surely. Oh, do you think so? Well, it doesn't seem likely that the reason why this young woman doesn't want to open her case would have been written in a book that doesn't even belong to her. Yes, that's true, but still, Miss Pavlova certainly did cast her eyes in that direction. I noticed it myself. Then there has to be another reason why she won't open her case. And it must be somewhere in the same area if that's where her gaze was involuntarily drawn. I agree, that's the only answer. Whatever she has hidden inside that case should be revealed by following her gaze in the direction of the bookcase. There's a passage. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Borya. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabin. Pets are also strictly forbidden. It was the exact same notice in our cabin, too. I wonder what happens if you break the rules. Oh dear, I'm sure the punishment would be severe in our Holo-san. You'd probably be left to drift in the freezing cold ocean, or shut inside a tiny wardrobe for days on end. I've actually been serving time for weeks now, have I? She has a pet.
Yes!
Yes, the reason why you refuse to open your case is written in the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Indeed, that case of yours is something forbidden from carriage on this vessel. That is the real reason why you refuse to open it, thus revealing its contents. As we've seen, the trunk wobbles from time to time, but no weapon or other dangerous item would move of its own accord. Which leaves but one possibility, Miss Pavlova. Inside your traveling case... is the last item listed as forbidden in the vessel's rules of passage. A pet! Ah! I think she would have told us that. Possession of a prohibited animal. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. So clearly you aren't who you said you were. No, I am not Grimsby Roylock. My real name is Nikolina Pavlova. Everything you said was correct. You were absconded during one of your ballet company's performances in order to escape your homeland. Later that same night, you stole aboard this vessel. Which couldn't have been easy. The Borya is a huge steamship with a vast crew. Could she really have snuck on board without being noticed? In order to obscure your true identity, you somewhat recklessly took the guise of an old gentleman. And you intended to sever all links with your past by severing your long hair. Yet to a woman, hair is no trifling matter. My personal recommendation is to leave well alone. So, if it was just you about to cut off your own hair, who was it that let out the scream we heard from outside the cabin? That veritable tickling of a bell, why no one other than the young lady, naturally. More like a full set of pipes, if you ask me. I was so scared when I ran away from Shanghai. I was sure they would come looking for me. That's why I decided to, how do you say, disgust myself. No one would recognize me. As a result, you transformed yourself into a questionable old man, I see. I put on the fur hat and fake beard. Then just before you came in here, I saw in the newspaper, right on the page, there was a picture of me. I was so frightened, I couldn't stop from screaming. I knew that if I didn't change my appearance completely, they would find me. I decided to cut all my hair as fastly as possible, I picked up the scissors in my hand and... At the precise moment we walked in through the annoyingly unlocked cabin door. Things happen like that sometimes, don't they? Things do indeed happen like that, from time to time. Are those two even talking about the same thing? There's just one more thing I'd like to know. What exactly do you have inside your traveling case? You are right, it is my dear friend inside, my only friend in the whole world. Please, don't tell anyone if the captain finds out. If you say to any of the crew. No secret is safe with us, I assure you. But in return, you must tell us, in as much detail as you can muster, about the events of last night. Yes, all right. I will tell you. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, wasn't it something, Mr. Shlom's great deduction? It was certainly something, yes. I'm just not entirely sure what. But at least Miss Pavlova has agreed to tell us what she knows. That's incredible. Indeed, it is incredible. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, yes? What? Observe your wrists. My... Ah! Your hands are cuffed again. What? But how? True to my word, I have restored your shackles. Grr. When and why? There is still a shadow of guilt cast over you, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry to say, it can't be helped at the moment. Ah, can't it really? Anyway, let's listen to what Miss Pavlova has to say. I can't go on not knowing. I have to find out what the speckled band that Kazuma-sama wrote about in his diary really was. Did you know that someone was killed in the cabin next door to this one last night? One of the crewmen told me this morning when I was eating breakfast. The man who died, he was a friend of mine. Oh, that's why we were trying to find out what happened. Did you notice anything unusual last night? Perhaps you heard a strange noise, for example. Perhaps people talking. Perhaps the ship was absorbed in a wild tempest. Perhaps its steam engine exploded. Perhaps everyone on board would have noticed that had happened. Miss Pavlova, is there anything you can tell us? I don't know. I'm sorry, but all I could think about last night was what I had done and whether they would find me. I didn't notice anything that was happening around me. Oh, I see. You run away from your ballet company, haven't you? The Novavich Ballet. Yes. I'm traveling to Great Britain, and from there I want to go to America. I will never dance again. I want to forget everything about the ballet. I will start a new life. You wish to forget? A challenging proposition. When you have that striking tiara as a reminder. But that tiara is mine. I need it to live. I have no money of my own. The Novavich Ballet gives us only a little food and water, and we must dance all over the world. I had to run away. I had no choice. If I stayed, it would have killed me. You ran away to protect yourself. Yes, and the crew of this ship, they have all been kind to me. They let me come on board, and they said I could hide in this cabin. If that is indeed the truth, Miss Pavlova, it creates a most intriguing conundrum. Yes, it does. What do you think about it, Miss Naruhodo? Me? Oh, well, yes, of course. I think we should hear Miss Pavlova's explanation. To what conundrum, I'm not sure, but... Miss Pavlova, allow me to pose you a riddle. According to this newspaper, it was only yesterday that you absconded from the ballet. Now, that being the case, it must have been last night that you boarded this vessel. However, the SS Burya stopped by no port last night. Oh, that's it, of course! So how is it, pray, that you came to be on board? Now that I think about it, the crewman outside the cabin acted very strangely when we mentioned that. It was just after we asked him about when the occupant of this cabin came aboard. That is not your business. Yes, you're right. He did seem to be hiding something. An angel descends from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to the stage. Sorry? What was that? It's how the Russian newspaper described one of my performances. And that is how I came here, too. I descended from the heavens because I am an angel. Considering English isn't your mother tongue, your description is very vivid. Mrs. Shlomes once said, I never can resist the touch of the dramatic. It seems Miss Pavlova is the same. A genius descends from the heavens, bringing grace and beauty to detection. Words once said about myself. A quote from the wonderfully extravagant advertisement for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, in fact. Yes, Mr. Showy. Anyway, it doesn't look like Miss Pavlova is going to tell us what really happened. So, the friend you mentioned is inside your traveling case, is that right? I don't think animals are allowed on board according to the rules of passage. Oh, please, don't tell. Don't tell any of the crew. If they found out my precious... Then the burly Russians would bestir themselves in unison to throw you and your case overboard, I've no doubt. Ah! So reassuring, Mr. Shlomes. But what sort of pet is your friend? A little puppy? Is it? Isn't it? Maybe an adorable little rabbit? Ah, you credit Russia as a land with small rabbits, do you? Oh, don't they have small rabbits there then? You may well ask. I have no idea. Ah. You two are miserable bunglers when it comes to understanding the nature of young ballerina's friends. It's obvious. It must be a chicken. Really? Consider the benefits. A rousing big wake-up call, daily fresh eggs, and when adversity strikes, it could satisfy the needs of sustenance. So you'd eat your friends, I'll remember that. Well, it would appear this friend's identity is a closely guarded secret not to be revealed. Ha 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 ha! She obviously doesn't quite trust us yet. There's something I should like to show her, I think. Maybe she might be able to shed some light on it. I think this is it. This is the diary of my friend who passed away. His diary? Yes, and he wrote in last night before he died something a little unusual. It reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. And then a few minutes later, what looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. A speckled band? I don't understand. It's strange, isn't it? But the ventilator he mentioned joins this cabin, you see. It's up there on the wall. In other words, this cabin and the victim's cabin are connected together. Oh. Miss Pavlova, has something occurred to you? Does the speckled band the victim mentioned mean something to you? Or the whistling sound, perhaps? No, I don't know anything. Oh. Knock, knock. Who's there? Excuse me, Miss Roylott? Yes, what? Wow, she's fast! Captain would like to speak with you. You must come to Captain's quarters at once, please. Alright, I will come now. What? You must leave now. Oh no, it's fine. Don't mind us. Yes, please don't worry yourself, Mr. Roylott. Get out! The passenger said out! Or you want me to throw you out? Ah, it looks like we'll have to leave investigating this cabin until later. What a pity. And so we lost our chance. Having still not managed to investigate Miss Pavlova's cabin, we were unceremoniously chased out. That is to say, we were quite literally picked up and thrown into the passageway outside. To be continued.